Last one for me. We were talking last episode about people fleeing New York City, Manhattan, possibly hundreds of thousands of people. Bigger inventory of rentals than since they started tracking that data, like 13,000 rentals. Something similar apparently could be happening in San Francisco. Of course, you have many people on the tech scene out there in San Francisco and south of San Francisco, places like Palo Alto, places like Mountain View, big companies
Valley.
out there. Yeah, it's the Valley, the Silicon Valley. It's very expensive. I'm not going to lie. Been out there. Never lived there, but, you pop over into real estate. Expensive place to be. Tight. A lot of people commute as well. Bit of a headache. It's where Uber got its start. Just taking people from San Francisco, the actual city, down to Silicon Valley and back. They don't want to drive. They want to do a little work in the back seat. In fact, many of those big, huge tech companies just started to run their own shuttles. Forget the city bus. Forget the transport. We run a shuttle. You're on your laptop doing work anyways, even if it's an hour, hour and a half.
Yeah.
Can't say I'd be a huge fan of it myself, but look, you got the big job. You do what you got to do. Mm-hmm. Well, we've been covering this post-COVID stuff. A lot of these big companies have moved to remote work. They've said, hey, we're not coming back. Google said, we're not coming back till 2021.
Right.
Others have said, look, we don't know if we're coming back completely the way we were ever again. Companies like Facebook encourage to work from home. These people, you don't understand. They employ a lot of people over there. Well, you do understand.
Yeah.
And so when they say we're not coming back for a while, or they say, hey, you want to work from home for a while, then you sit around and you say to yourself, why am I here? Mm-hmm. You sit around and say to yourself, why am I in this one-bedroom apartment right here, $4,200 a month?
Yeah. I can go to Cabo and just work there.
Well, I don't know about
beach.
That's a little tougher because you got to go to a different country. So
right, but if you're working remotely, I mean, you could.
What happened to the voice there, Will?
Voice is hard.
Well,
Cabo.
I mean, if you're on these things and you say enough words, you're eventually dead. Either one of us.
Yeah.
I'm dead. You're dead. Say enough words. It's eventually.
I don't even say a lot of words.
That's true. Yeah. Maybe that's harder though, because then when you do, it's more pressure on every single word. You got the people hanging on the end of their seat there.
Yeah, there's just cobwebs in my mouth.
Yeah. No, so a lot of people are, they could just go to the next state over, really. They could go find a cheap deal. They could go to Arizona. They could go to Vegas. They could go a little further north up towards Seattle is going to be cheaper. If you could go to the middle of the country, save a bunch of money. Yeah. Rogan goes to Texas. You could go to Idaho. You could go. A lot of people like Colorado, although I think it's getting more expensive to live there as well. But people are sitting there and they're really considering, where do I have to be? If I'm locked up inside, why am I here? And if I'm working remotely and all I need is an internet connection, why am I here?
Yeah.
And add to that, the restaurants are shut down, which that's probably the best thing about big cities, the restaurants. Mm-hmm. And then you say, well, this is a real waste of money. I'll come back when that gets sorted out and the restaurants open back up. So this appears to be happening in places in a number of big cities, but particularly the expensive ones. They're not going to have data for a while on exactly what this evacuation or city exodus looks like. But when you have companies like Facebook saying employees could stay away for as long as they could, and they employ 52,000 people, these type of exodus could be quite large. Mm. There's a cybersecurity firm listed in this article called Tanium. They have 1,500 employees that work across from San Francisco, and they say, no, we're done. Everybody works from home now. If it's just 1,500 people, where do they go? Why do you live where you live? I mean, work is a big part of it. And you take that out of the equation and you think to yourself, wow, I could live anywhere. See, so for example, Will, if you didn't have to be here right now, if we didn't have to decide on a physical place, we didn't have to be in a physical place. If I said, Will, it's all remote from now on, I mean, we don't have 1,500 employees, so it doesn't really matter. But, and you could choose to go anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you go?
Right now, I would love to go to Iceland.
You go to Iceland
Yeah.
to work remotely.
Yeah.
That's very remote.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Probably the most remote.
See, the only problem with going that far is now time zones. You still got to get on calls.
Yeah, I know.
That's very remote.
During this time, though, do you feel people working remote, do they lose some sort of like team spirit?
Oh, God, yeah.
You know?
You lose all kinds of spirit, man. You got to be around people. I mean, geez.
Yeah.
We know this. You got to. My house is just madness. There's so much going on there. I can't imagine. This has been like 6 months now, and I'm sure there's plenty of people who have been mostly inside in an apartment for that period of time, and that's a rough grind, man. That's not going to be a good time. That's not going to be a healthy psyche. I commend anybody who's worked through it and been productive and figured it out, whatever works for them. But no, we're definitely at that threshold where, you know, potentially for people, there could be lasting damage having been isolated for this long.
Yeah.
I mean, you go, what's the worst punishment? What happens if you're a really terrible citizen? You get isolated.
Isolation.
You get isolated, but never, I mean, not in my lifetime has there been an event that has resulted in this level of isolation for this period of time, for this number of people. And I mean, I can't wait, I'm sure like many other people, to get on the other side of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we're almost, did you try to cut me off, man? I was having a moment and everything.
Well,
All right, end it, Will.
It was a deep pause.
End it, Will.
All right.